All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Ashley Abrams. I'm the chair of the CAR Professional Development Committee, and I welcome you to the February Latte and Learn. So this session, we are going to be focused on well and septic, and our guest speaker is Chris Evers. Chris is an Augusta County native and graduate of Old Dominion University and has a degree in civil engineering technology. Having served in the construction industry for nearly 20 years and continuously associated with residential construction, he has gained extensive knowledge of the trades and workmanship required to build a quality residence. He is a certified master alternative septic installer through Virginia DEPOR and continues to maintain the Virginia Responsible Land Disturber certificate. He performs inspections with attention to detail while following the InterNACHI standards of practice and Home Inspector Code of Ethics. In addition, he has received certifications from Virginia's DEPOR and the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. So Chris, I will now go ahead and hand over the session to you.
All right, thank you, Ashley. Again, my name is Chris Evers, owner-operator of Christopher Evers Home Inspections and Consulting. I like to do everything under one roof: home inspections, septic inspections, radon inspections, kind of the whole thing for what the realtors need. Today, we're going to be heavily focused on the septic portion of my inspections and point of sale inspections, trying to address exactly what the realtors are looking for and what you should be looking for on your client's behalf. Simple PowerPoint presentation. We'll go through that and then follow up with Q&A. I find the question and answer session to be very, very involved and probably more educational than what the PowerPoint presentation is. I think quality Q&A answers a lot of very specific questions that you guys are associated with on a daily basis, and maybe can't get the answers directly then and there when you need it. So we'll start with the PowerPoint presentation and we'll go from there. So what is a point of sale inspection as far as a septic system is concerned? I like to identify all of the major components of the septic system. I like to identify the locations of them and what they actually are on each particular site. Just like a home inspection, we also do visual inspection of the readily accessible components. With a septic inspection, readily accessible is a bit of a stretch because everything is buried in general, and it's a little more invasive than what a home inspection is. I do dig up the components, so it is a disturbance in the lawn, and I consider digging them up as being readily accessible. And then, of course, preparation and presentation of a report. I think visual representation of what I see and an explanation of what I see in a report is more than valuable. It lets the client see exactly what I'm seeing and why I say it's in good condition or a deficiency. So just like a home inspection report, I think a good report is essential. And I tried to do my septic reports very similar to what a home inspection report that you're used to would be. So why perform a septic inspection? What's the value of it, and why are we performing them and recommending them to our clients? First off, client investment protection. I think as a realtor and as an inspector, I think it is our number one job to protect our clients against future problems with a home, or at least identify what problems can occur, or if anything is occurring currently. Um, just like a roof or an HVAC, or any of the major components, a septic system is vital to a home that doesn't otherwise have sewer service. So is everything in working condition? Is water flowing the way it's supposed to? Is it draining out into the lawn and into the subsoil the way it's supposed to? Um, are pumps working? A lot of systems have pumps and controls, and I exercise all of that stuff during a septic inspection, just like we would turn on the HVAC, and just like we would operate faucets in the home. I try to operate a septic system as if someone were living in the house. Um, and a lot of times I try to simulate a heavy water usage event in the home, a holiday party, or birthday party, or overnight guests for a few days. I try to simulate large volumes of water being used. So hidden defects, that's kind of the name of the game with septic inspections. Everything is a hidden defect when it comes to the septics. There are usually no exposed components that we can see. So everything is in fact a hidden defect in a septic system. So for those that aren't aware, what exactly is a septic system, and what are the components that make up a septic system? In its basic form, and this can go down a rabbit hole very quickly, but in its basic form, you have a septic tank, which is simply a holding vessel that captures everything that is washed out of the home down the drain system. Toilets, showers, washing machines, dishwashers, sinks. A lot of times, some floor drains could be. Water softener discharge can be in that. That all goes to the septic tank, and the septic tank is simply a storage vessel for everything that comes out of the home. The main sewer line. So that's the first part really of your septic system, and that's the pipe that connects the house to the septic tank. The conveyance line, that's the next major component. That is the pipe that goes from the septic tank to the distribution box. It's just a method of transport for the liquid that comes out of the septic tank. The distribution box, that's, as far as I'm concerned, kind of the magic of a septic system. Without a properly functioning distribution box, you have very little that's functioning properly as well. A distribution box is exactly what it says it is. It's distributing, excuse me, it's distributing the water from the septic tank evenly to each of the individual leach field lines. And the leach field, of course, is the largest component of the septic system. And it's what we're using to put the water back into the ground. So the leach field is slowly letting water percolate into the ground. And then we use the earth as basically a giant coffee filter. And we're filtering that water before it gets back into our water table. So what is a septic tank? It's simply a storage vessel. There's not a lot of magic to a septic tank. You have water from the home that comes down the main sewer pipe, which is here. So your house would be over in this area. Everything washed out of the home goes into the septic tank and gets divided, for lack of better terms, if you will, in the septic tank. All of your scum layer comes to the top. That's this area. So that's going to contain all of your soaps, greases that are washed down the drain, buoyant products that are flushed, um, mainly soaps and greases is kind of what that's made of. The sludge is all the heavy particles that get into the septic tank. This all settles to the bottom, and this is the reason you would pump a septic tank. When this sludge level starts to increase and it gets up into these baffles, it's kind of to that height, that's when a septic tank is needing to be pumped. That's the sludge, the stuff that doesn't break down, accumulates in the tank. This can be very heavy in some households and not so heavy in others. A lot of it depends on how many folks are living in the house. A lot of it depends on how the client is using the garbage disposal. So eggshells and coffee grinds and some people put small bones down like chicken bones down the garbage disposal. All of that doesn't break down. The bacteria in the septic tank will not decompose that stuff. And that's what builds up in the bottom of the tank. And then the gray water, it's called wastewater in this image, but the gray water is in the middle. So ideally, that's the only thing we want to go out of the baffle here and into the distribution box that's over here. The gray water shouldn't have any large particles in it, and it should resemble it should resemble the water that's coming out of your wash machine after you do a load of clothes. So think about no solids, no heavy particles, no greases. That's what we're trying to get out of it before it goes to the distribution box. So problems with a septic tank. What am I looking for when I do a septic inspection? And should you pump a septic tank when we do a septic inspection? So my philosophy in pumping is no. I don't think that your client should be responsible for pumping someone else's sewage out of the septic tank. I see it as cleaning out the rest of the house. I kind of see the septic tank as the same thing. The seller of the home, in my opinion, should be the one that's pumping the septic tank. Am I missing anything by not pumping the septic tank? Not necessarily. Like I said, the septic tank is just a holding vessel. If it's holding water and if it's holding the sewage, that's the name of the game with the septic tank. There's nothing else that I really need to see in there. If there's cracks in the tank and it's leaking, it's going to be very obvious to me that the tank is leaking. The water level will not be up to that scum layer that I showed you earlier. So problems in a septic tank. This is kind of an extreme example. This particular septic tank had a large tree that was over in this neighborhood, and that tree had lots and lots of roots. It was a maple tree, and that's what you see in the tank right here. This is maple tree root that has infiltrated the septic tank. This is a non-functioning septic tank, and how sewer did not back up into the home, I still am not sure. Um, Along with that, in the second photo, this is the outlet baffle of the septic tank. So this is where water should be going out to the distribution box. When we scoped the pipe, put the camera head into this pipe, as soon as we inserted the camera head, that pipe was infiltrated with the tree roots. So that's why that septic tank looks very full. That water was not escaping and going to the distribution box the way that it should. So at this point, I typically will terminate the septic inspection and recommend that the pipe be replaced and the distribution box located, and then reevaluating at that point. Healthy septic tanks, you would see a nice outlet baffle here. It would be very obvious that that's what it was, and water should be flowing out of that. Maybe not continuously, but each time a bit of water comes from the house, that same amount should be flowing out of the outlet baffle. Main sewer lines. So what do I look for in main sewer line pipes? I look for a nice round pipe. So you see that on the left-hand photo, how you have a nice round shape to the pipe, no water standing in the bottom. That is a healthy sewer line pipe and functioning as it's supposed to. The photo on the right, that is one that's not so healthy. That is either an old cast iron pipe or terracotta pipe. This one was actually taken from just a sewer line inspection going to public sewer, not a septic system, but you can see how the pipe is starting to crack on the sides. That is good indication that the pipe is in failure, and replacement is probably evident, or imminent rather, at this particular sewer line. A lot of times you'll also see the pipe water level be up here, and this all standing with water in this area. That's a sign of the sewer line either clogged or broken pipe further downstream and not draining the way that it's supposed to. Next component is the conveyance line. So this is the pipe going from the septic tank to the distribution box. Again, the photo on the left is a healthy conveyance line. You have a nice round pipe, and water appears to be flowing out of that as it's intended. On the right-hand side, you see this is not such a round pipe. This looks like soil pressure is pressing down onto the pipe and causing it to be very flat and egg shape. That could be anything from vehicular traffic over the pipe to just soil pressure to improper installation when it was originally done. Water can still pass through at this point, and you see there's no water backup in that pipe. For this particular one, I would recommend replacing that pipe, because again, it's just a matter of time before it's going to collapse completely. The bottom photo, this one is a recent photo from just a few weeks ago. This is a pipe that has failed, and it's obviously it was a round pipe to begin with, and now it's shaped kind of like the infinity symbol. So the pipe has collapsed in itself, both from the top and the bottom. So you can see how the top is pushed in, the bottom is pushed in, and now the pipe has two openings essentially. This is a failed pipe, and it's allowing surface water to get into the septic system. So surface water, every time it rains, it's passing down through that pipe and washing mud and debris into the distribution box. This is a critical concern. That mud and the surface water should never get into a septic system. That's very quick failure for a septic system. So just a couple pipe examples to show what good pipes look like, what bad pipes look like, and what I look for. Even though this is a conveyance line, the same type of anomalies happen with a main sewer line as well. Distribution box. So what's it doing? The picture on the left is showing the inlet pipe from the septic tank, which is here, water flowing this direction into the distribution box. And then it's distributing the water to each of the 5 lines in this particular case. And the 5 lines are going to a 5 drain line leach field. This is a replacement. So this is what a distribution box should look like in new construction and or replacement situation. The box on the right is the box that we took out of this scenario. When we opened it up, it looked to be a healthy distribution box until we poked a steel rod in it. This steel rod is here, and it easily just passed right through the wall of the distribution box right here. For this reason, almost exclusively, is why I recommend excavating a distribution box. Lots and lots of them are in failure like this, and you can't see that failure unless you dig it up and actually visually inspect it. When you poke the camera head through the distribution box and your camera head is right here, you can't see what the health of that distribution box is. Even if it's functioning properly and water is passing out of it like it should, it still could be in failure like the photo to the right. And until you uncover it, you'll never see that with a camera inspection. So that's why I say always dig up the distribution box. If you don't do anything else for a septic inspection, look at the distribution box, because that could be the telltale of how the rest of the system is functioning. So you might ask, well, it's a concrete box. What's causing that box to corrode like that and to fall apart? And if you think of like a brick of talcum powder that's been wet and then pressed into a brick and then allowed to dry, you can just break that talcum powder apart. That's kind of how the concrete of the distribution box reacts as well. And what's causing that is the methane gases can't escape a distribution box like they can out of a septic tank. So those methane gases are constantly eroding the concrete surface of the box, causing the concrete to slowly get brittle and break down. And then in a lot of situations, you also add water softener discharge to a septic system. And now we're adding salt water to the concrete box, and salt's natural reaction to concrete is to break it down slowly. So the water softener discharge, it happens quite frequently, and any home that has a water softener that is discharging into a septic system, eventually the box is going to start breaking down like that. So the leach field, I am an advocate of always scoping the leach field. Many contractors or septic repair companies or inspection companies, they never pass the scope down a leach field, and I have yet to figure out why. But But in my opinion, you should always pass a scope down a few of the leach field pipes. So this is a healthy leach field pipe. This is actually just before it gets into the leach field, but inside the leach field looks very much the same. Um, you don't have any water standing. You have a nice established flow line right here where the water has been traveling, and the pipe is relatively clean and in good condition, nice and round. That's what your leach field pipe should look like in a modern construction style septic system. Um, there's all different types of products and all different types of installation methods. So each leach field's going to be a little bit different, but this is probably the most common type is just a black corrugated pipe with holes in the bottom of it. So that's a healthy looking leach field pipe. Not so healthy leach field pipes. So this is what I'm looking for passing a camera into the leach field. This is a situation on the left where effluent is ponding in the leach field. So you have all of this ponding effluent, meaning it's not draining into the soil the way it's supposed to. Multiple things can cause this. It could be the soil could be completely saturated and just worn out. The soils do get saturated. The pores in the soils do get clogged up, and the leach fields and septic systems do have a life cycle. This one is probably on the tail end of its life cycle, and generally, when you have ponding in a leach field like this, you're due for a full septic replacement. Um, there are a few mitigation methods that can be used. You can do water jetting and jet that out and try to break up what's under those pipes. Fact of the matter is, you're probably just delaying the inevitable in a failure situation. So why is that super critical and really important? From a realtor's perspective, if you see that in a drain line and say this house is an empty nester couple looking to downsize, it's been two folks living in the house for the last 10, 15, 20 years maybe, and the leach field is ponding like this. Your client could be a couple with 2 or 3 children. You're going to increase the water load and the water usage into this home. And now that you're increasing the water load into the leach field, you're looking at failure very quickly, because this particular one isn't keeping up with the family that's there. And now we're looking at increasing the family size, putting someone different with different living habits into the home. Fact of the matter is, we don't know how it's going to perform at the end of the day, but we know it's not performing correctly now. So we need to mitigate the problem. The bottom photo, this is showing grease and soil intrusion into the leach field. So what's happening in this one is you're getting all this buildup into the leach field because the septic tank has not been maintained the way it's supposed to be. So as that solid layer inside the septic tank builds up from the bottom, now it's getting into the outlet baffle and washing that debris into the distribution box and further down into the leach field. This is very common. A lot of times you'll see a black sludge, or it can vary from household to household depending on how they use it. But this is mostly grease and sedimentation from the septic tank that's getting into the leach field. This can be jetted out and repaired. Again, the jet service I think is kind of a risk, but it can be done. Again, the leach field pipes that we see, the one on the left, this is one that was crushed, and this is about 10 feet out into the leach field, and you see that gravel material there. Someone probably drove over it with something very heavy and caused a rut and crushed the pipe. Could have been a post hole that was drilled down somewhere through it in the past. Could have been a number of things. Um, but that is a pretty major problem in a leach field. At this point, we're cutting the leach field down from a 100-foot long drain line to a 10-foot long drain line, only using a tenth of the leach field capacity. And then the one on the right, this is soil intrusion into the leach field. What happened in this particular case is surface water was getting into the leach field from pipes and the distribution box upstream. So the distribution box had a plywood cover on it, not a concrete cover. The concrete cover probably was broken sometime years past, and the homeowner just put a plywood cover on it. The plywood had rotted away, and soil, every time that it rained, was washing down into the leach field, and causing it to clog like this. Once that is done, that is permanent damage. That leach field will most likely have to be replaced. So, kind of a recap: septic inspections for real estate transactions. Should I recommend to my client to get a septic inspected? Absolutely. I think septic inspections are absolutely critical. I think if you're in a normal style market, I think a septic inspection is absolutely critical. And why? I think the best explanation you could give to a client is the septic system is another appliance. Your home will not function without it, and it's most often the most expensive appliance repair that a homeowner will ever have to make. Average size house, a roof replacement is, let's say, 15,000. Again, average size house, let's say 2,500 to 3,500 square feet. HVAC total replacement, if you don't do the duct work, you're probably 10,000 per system. Depends on how many systems are in the home. Septic inspections can easily touch $30,000 or $40,000, or septic replacements rather can easily touch $30,000 or $40,000, especially in a smaller lot situation where we don't have the adequate space to install a conventional system. Some of the engineered systems, they're averaging about 40 grand at the moment. And they're not getting any cheaper. Fewer and fewer folks are installing them. Fewer engineers are designing them, and the price of the product themselves continuously is on the rise. I've done septic systems for homes that are as much as $75,000 or $80,000. It's not uncommon to spend really life-changing money when it comes to septic repair and or replace. So I think that's an easy way to explain to your client what a septic system is, and that their house won't function without it is related to an appliance. So that concludes the PowerPoint presentation. Questions and answers, I think, are critical. I think they're important. And I think I can probably address most any question that you have or that you've come across for for a septic inspection for a real estate transaction. Anything from who does what to who do I go to for this type of answer. I think I can probably point you in the right direction.
I have a
So
question.
I'll open it up to you guys. Absolutely.
Um, I took a photo of that septic tank diagram, and in the one you did right up front, you probably can't see that. Where
Yes, ma'am.
where is the distribution box in that in that diagram?
So that diagram is just showing the septic tank. And let's get back to that. Should be pretty easy here.
Might be a dumb question, but I don't really know for sure where it is.
So the distribution box is going to be on the right-hand side of that where the blue arrows are coming out. So the
Okay.
red arrows would be the sewer coming in from the house. And then at the end of the blue arrows, that would be about where your distribution box would be.
But I asked because I didn't. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, and that can vary wildly from property to property. A distribution box can be right beside the septic tank, or it could be a couple 100 feet from the septic tank. It just depends on how it was installed and the characteristics of that particular piece of land.
See. All right, thank you.
I have a
Oh.
question. Does the seller need or the future buyer need Board of Health approval for either a repair or replacement of a system?
So the short answer is no. There's lots of caveats to that though. So legally, a certified installer can repair and or replace the components of a septic system up to the beginning of the leach field. So all of that can be done without obtaining a permit. Once you get into the leach field, that's where a permit is required, and Department of Health input is necessary. The Department of Health doesn't really give you the input anymore. That's more gone private to the AOSEs, the soil guys, who we all have such a joy getting in touch with. That's who would make the decisions if the leach field has to be repaired or replaced. But everything up to the leach field can be done by a licensed septic contractor, all without a permit.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question. What does a leach field repair entail?
So a leach field repair could be a number of different things. Generally, a leach field would not be repaired unless you're just running a sewer jet down them to try to clean them out. Flushing them out can be done without a permit. But when the leach field has to be repaired, that's when you would have to get a permit from the health department. And it could be replacing a certain amount of footage within the leach field and kind of skipping over some of it and picking the leach field parts that are still in service to extend the life of it. Or it could be total replacement of the leach field. Typically, full replacement of the leach field is where the soils guys and the health department are going to gravitate to.
I have a question.
Sure.
Two questions actually. As a buyer agent, what you're suggesting is that at minimum, we have the seller inspect the distribution box, correct? Not the tank too.
So, so I would not get the seller to inspect anything.
I mean, or have it done at their expense is what I mean by a professional.
I would get the seller to pump, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
If you're a buyer's agent, I would recommend that you and the buyer do your own inspections.
Okay.
Fact of the matter is, people are people, and sellers will tell you whatever they want to tell you to get their house sold. So just like a home inspection, you don't let your seller just give you the home inspection report generally from when they had it done. You want to do your own due diligence, and your client wants to do their own due diligence in
Okay.
performing their own inspections.
Okay. And the other part of that is, how often do you pump now? Back in the day, it was 15 to 20 years. Now it's like 3 to 5 or something.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So pumping is, can I get off of this screen so you guys can see me? I'm not sure.
Just stop sharing.
Just stop sharing. Okay. Oh, how about that? Okay. Yeah, so pumping is well, there we go. So pumping is kind of a conundrum at the moment. The way septic systems were originally designed in the 40s and the 50s, they were designed for the bacteria to eat the sludge and then the water to go out. We're still using the same technology today that we were installing septic systems in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So same style components. The materials have gotten a little better, but the installation methods and the process is still the same. So with pumping, we're using more product today. We're using more hair care products. We're using more laundry care products, bleaches, antibacterial soaps. All of that stuff is killing the bacteria in the septic tanks, and that's what's causing that sludge to build up more rapidly. So pumping cycles are certainly increased. Garbage disposals, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, no one had a garbage disposal. Now every house has a garbage disposal, and you get folks that are moving from urban environments and out to the country where there are septic systems. They're used to scraping all their plates and dumping their hamburger grease and bacon grease down the drain. And so that's what's causing more frequent pumping cycles. Average household, 3 to 5 folks. I say a pumping cycle normally is about 3 years. The more people that are living in the house, obviously, the more frequently you want to have it pumped. For 2 folks, maybe every 4 or 5 years. Again, it just depends on how you're using the system. Yeah.
You have mentioned jetting a couple times.
Yeah.
So I've picked up on this twice and I just kind of want to confirm with you. So I have had jetting recommended when looking at various parts of it where perhaps just one line is causing an issue versus multiple lines. But
Yes.
it sounds like at the end of the day, if you jet the line, it could clear the issue, but I guess nobody's coming back to then re-inspect it later. So if you have an issue, you have an issue. Is that what I'm hearing you say about jetting?
Yes. So the jet service, for those that aren't familiar with what's happening, basically you're running a really high pressure washer down into the septic drain lines. So you have a pipe with holes in the bottom of the pipe that are about the size of a nickel. And those holes are spaced out every few inches, every 6 inches probably. And you push this high pressure water jet down the drain line and then slowly pull it back. And it's a pressure washer that's blowing backwards. So it's pulling all of that stuff out of the line. And it is in fact cleaning the pipe, and it's doing a good job of cleaning the pipe. What it's not doing is cleaning the gravel underneath of the pipe and cleaning the soil underneath of the gravel. And oftentimes, especially in an older septic system, the gravel and the soil are the problems. The soil has been clogged with sewage for 40 or 50 years. You're not going to fix that with jet service. The jet service, you're putting a Band-Aid on an issue most of the time. Sometimes it works, and sometimes I've seen it last for several years after the fact. But that's not really what the jet service was designed to do, not for the leach field. The jetter is really designed to clean sewer line pipes out that have buildup or have a clog or something like that. It's not going to correct a problem anywhere below the surface of the pipe. So the inside of the pipe is getting cleaned, but not the clogged soil and clogged gravel below it. That's my opinion with the jet service anyway. And I offer the jet service. It's a service that I have and that I can do. I just refuse to spend someone's money and put a Band-Aid on a wound that needs stitches, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I have a question in terms of the size of the septic tank in relation to how big the house is and how many bedrooms.
Yeah.
So how serious is it if you have a septic tank that, let's say, is for 3 to 4 bedrooms, but a house that says is like a 6-bedroom house? Is that something that needs to be addressed, or is it not as serious?
So a couple ways to look at that. How many people are going to be living in the house? And how does your client want to sell the house down the road? A 3-bedroom house has X number of drain lines. It has nothing to do with the septic tank itself. It's the number of drain lines and how the soil is collecting and filtering the water. So if you have a 3-bedroom house that's been converted to a 5-bedroom house, let's say, but no work has been done on the septic system, legally, according to the health department, you still have a 3-bedroom house. And you have a 3-bedroom septic associated with it. There are lots and lots and lots of houses out there that have a 2 or 3-bedroom septic system where they have finished the basement or finished a bonus room or what have you, and more people are living there than that 3-bedroom. It's not really a problem for how the system works, other than you may be overloading it a little bit. However, take in consideration that the systems are oversized and over-designed anyway. So chances are it's not so critical for the system. It is more critical for how you're going to market the house, and are you going to say it's a 5-bedroom house? Sometimes it's all in the language, and in like kind of going back to the history of how that has all come to be. You can go to most building departments, like community development or whatever at the county, to get your building permit, and they say, are you adding any bedrooms? Well, you say, no, I'm adding an office. That's what my plans say. I'm adding an office or a bonus room. They sign off on it, they give you the building permit, and then you put your toddler in your office. Happens every day. It's all in the language, it's all in how you do the permitting. People don't add bedrooms when they permit it, because they don't want to go through the expense of modifying their septic. That's kind of the loophole. But is it a super critical issue? Most of the time, no.
All right, great. Thank you.
Who else? There's 50 people here, and we only have a couple questions. Come on, the question and answers are the best.
I have another one.
Yeah, sure.
What about additives, like Red X? Can you speak to that? Are they helpful, harmful, what?
So I'm pretty old school when it comes to that. I say never ever put anything down your septic tank that isn't filtered through your body first. That's how they're designed. That's how they should be used.
And that's what I tell people about garbage disposals.
Same thing. Yes.
Yeah.
So if a septic system is working properly, the additive should never have to be used.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to
And
know.
most septic contractors will tell you the same.
Interesting.
So can I go back to my recommendation is to pump it every 3 years? If that's what, because my thing has always been they're designed to never have to be. If you're only putting things that are designed to be put down in there,
Yes.
do I really need to pump it? I don't know that mine's ever been pumped. It's 20.
So you should pump your septic tank because I guarantee your washing machine, your laundry is going into your septic tank. So when septics were originally designed, and sometimes you guys will run across a house from the 40s or 50s that's still discharging their laundry out into the side ditch.
Mm-hmm.
That was permitted at that point. So we're putting more products in the septic tanks. So that's why you have to pump them more frequently. Bleaches in your laundry, all of that's killing that bacteria. And the antibacterial soaps, we inundated our septic tanks during COVID with antibacterial soaps. And because of that, all of the bacteria in there was killed, and it all had to be reset. But if it's working the way it's supposed to, and if you're using it the way it's supposed to be used, and nothing goes into it except what's flushed through your body first, then no, you should, in theory, never have to pump it. Fact of the matter is, in the way we live today, it's just not feasible.
So would you offer insight? This is just me because I've only ever owned septic systems, and
Of course, yeah.
never actually pumped any. That's not true. I had an alternative for a while, and I did follow the manufacturers on that one. If I say, hey, Chris, can you come pump my septic, and you come pump it, and you're like, wow, this is, it like, I mean, once you've pumped it and you can say, hey, I know it's been at least this long, would you then at that point say, okay, yeah, you're probably good going longer than 3 years? Or is just 3 years a good rule of thumb just in general as you go throughout?
So I say it's a good rule of thumb. If you have a small family, 3 or 4 years, and I say small family, a couple and a child, I consider it a small family, or just a couple or a single person. When you get into the realm of larger families, multi-generational families, or 3, 4, 5, 6 children in a household, your water usage and your stuff going down the drain exponentially increases. Gotcha. So your pumping cycles are going to increase as well. Yeah, but general rule of thumb, I mean, 3 years is a pretty good goal or baseline. And honestly, pumping a septic tank is very cheap insurance. It's $375 or $400 to pump a tank usually. and you're not hurting anything by doing it. It's cheap insurance for a septic system. I do mine every 2 years. It's me and my wife and 3 kids, and I pump mine every 2 years like clockwork.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
My internet went out for a minute, so you might have talked about these the alternative systems that I'm seeing a lot in Louisa. They're like 3 trash can in the ground.
Sure.
Did you talk about that and I missed it?
No, so I didn't talk about alternative systems at all. Again, it's a rabbit hole we can go down that we could talk about for hours, honestly.
Yeah.
But alternative systems do require more maintenance than a conventional. They require more frequent pumping cycles, and it is state mandate that they have the annual maintenance program, and someone should be coming out once a year to maintain that. I find I don't do the maintenance anymore because I got tired of fixing other people's screw ups, if you will.
Sure.
But what I found is some of these maintenance providers, they're coming out and inspecting the system, but they're not actually doing the maintenance that's supposed to be done. Cleaning the filters, cleaning the pumps, exercising the components, simple things like vacuuming out the spider webs in the control panels. I did all of that when I did the maintenance programs.
Sure.
And because these guys are not doing the actual maintenance, we're seeing more and more of the alternative systems failing much more prematurely than what they should be.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a deeper dive. I mean, I know we don't run across them as frequently, so it's good to know.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that you're able? I'm assuming there might be a different price structure if you're only doing septic versus doing septic and home inspection. Is there a way for somebody in the admin to send some of that pricing structure over that you usually do?
So pricing structure is generally speaking, you're going to be around, for an average size home and an average septic, you're going to be around $500 for a home inspection. You're going to be around $800 for a septic inspection. That does not include pumping. Pumping is an additional about $400. But for a septic inspection and home inspection together, I like to tell folks you're going to be $1,300 to $1,500, give or take.
Sure.
And is
only because
radon additional?
I'm sorry?
Is radon additional?
Yes.
And Chris, what do you regard? Some of these D boxes are in funky places and deep and all of that sort of thing. Are you coming with a backhoe on your truck? Like, how does that work as far as your own personal business? I'm just curious.
Yes. So I bring a small mini excavator that I can get through gates and fences and that kind of stuff generally. I do it all myself. I bring it, I dig it, I cover it, and I try to leave it as good as it was when I got there. I'm really pretty particular about digging on someone else's property. I'm from the heavy excavation world. That's where I got started. So operating the equipment is kind of second nature to me, and it's just part of the service. I do it as part of the service, and yeah, they're all dug up and all put back. And as of today, I have never damaged a distribution box. So it's always a possibility, but those things can get pretty fragile, but you gotta just take care of them. And but yes, I do all of that.
Okay. So these bigger companies that we call it, like we've obviously never worked together before, we do an inspection, we have a big company that comes in and does something that you've described. They then say, this needs to happen and this is the cost. Are you also giving quotes and doing follow-up work, or are you just saying the deficiencies?
I'm very cautious about that. I do not like going and finding deficiencies and saying, your deck is rotten, let me replace your deck for you. That I'd never ever do that. If a realtor approaches me and says, would you give a price on this? Then I absolutely will give a price, but I'd never I never tried to build work off of an inspection. I just don't think it's ethically the right thing to do.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me? I have a question for you.
Yep.
I will start with a plug. I work with Chris a ton, and he's fantastic for anyone who hasn't.
I recognize this voice.
Question for you. So, and you and I have done this together before, but a lot of septic companies will say they can't do the inspection without pumping the tank. And I know that you don't have to pump the tank, but can you speak to, is it easier? Is it a more thorough inspection, and is it easier to see if the tank is pumped prior to the inspection, or does that really not matter?
From my perspective, it doesn't really matter. The only thing you're gaining by pumping the septic tank is you're going to see the concrete box of the septic tank. You're going to be able to see the walls of the septic tank. You're not gaining anything by seeing the walls, because if the septic tank is leaking, it's very obvious that it's leaking when I open the lid. So other than, I have not been able to figure out why the companies are saying we can't do the inspection unless we pump, except for they're making a little extra money on the pump. That's the only way that I just can't see any other reason to pump a tank for an inspection, because the baffles, you can see it without pumping. You can run the sewer scope down all the lines without pumping. The only thing that you're losing is not seeing the inside of the septic tank. And I just don't find it, that beneficial.
Okay, and I know that there have been some changes for some of the companies and some retirements and stuff like that. Do you still have somebody, if somebody does want to have the tank pumped, is that something that we would need to contract with someone else and have it pumped? Or do you have somebody that can come in? You know, you used to coordinate with like Cavalier or whoever it was. Like, do you still coordinate with anybody if they want to have it pumped, or is that something we would do separately?
No, I will do it all in house, and I don't mark the pumping up. Whatever they charge me, I charge the client. I just use it as a convenience factor, so you guys can just make one call and have it all done.
Okay, awesome.
Great, thank you, Chris. I'm gonna go ahead and call the Q&A here, just because we are past 10 o'clock. So lots of great questions and great answers, and thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and thank you so much, Chris, for an amazing
Of course.
presentation. Yeah, so, and I also use Chris a lot too, so plug there as well.
Thanks, Ashley.
So Teresa, I will go ahead and turn over the presentation to you to go over some of our upcoming CAR classes and the events that we have to look forward to.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, I know you guys are busy, so I'll go through this very quickly, but we got a lot of good things coming up in education. So February 13th is our general membership meeting. It's going to be on transportation updates. There's also a class afterwards that is free. If you attend the GMM, you get the class free, and it is on building codes and design. We have the virtual classes for GRI 501 agency in Virginia. If you are taking GRI, this is a great opportunity to go ahead and get registered before the early bird deadline. We also have biased override, overcoming barriers to fair housing. This will also count toward that new requirement that NAR has put out, which is fair housing. So we have that coming up on February 24th from 1 to 4. New member incentive classes. Those of you that are a new member in your first year, these are classes that will help you throughout listing entry workshop, and then how to avoid being the agent no one wants to work with. So please register for these classes. They are free for you. They are free to membership. Seller representative specialist. We haven't had this class at CAR in many, many years. This is a 2-day class, March 6th and March 7th, which is a Thursday and a Friday. And this is the opposite of the ABR. So ABR is accredited buyer's representative. This is the seller representative. So if you're taking GRI, this substitutes your 505 working with sellers. So if you haven't signed up for this class, it is hybrid, it's in person and virtual. So whichever way that you can take the class, I encourage you to take this. It's a super class. Mark Warlow is the instructor. Broker forums coming up March 19th. So these are just things that's coming up, you know, into March and into April that I'm just wanting you to mark your calendars for. Escrow management is the class that's going to be afterwards. It is a free class if you're attending the broker forum. If not, then there is a fee for that. It is a 2-hour class and you do get credit for it. Our next Latte and Learn is reverse mortgage. So here is Matthew Harrison that's going to talk to us about that. This has always been a great topic. People learn a lot with the reverse mortgage. You think about it and you're like, oh, I don't think I'm interested. But everyone that attends these classes leave with, oh my gosh, I learned so much. I really enjoyed it. So Latte and Learn, March 14th. Then we have our March membership meeting, which is going to be the Professional Honor Society and annual awards. So mark this down on your calendar. It's March 27th. Of course, it is a Thursday. And then YPN is having the Latte and Learn with 1031 exchanges. John King is the instructor for that, and that's going to be on April 11th. So go ahead and get registered for these. Anyone that needs their 16 hours or their 24 hours as a broker, we have everything. I put everything together for what you need. You attend from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. both days. And this is April 15th and April 22nd. So it's a week apart. You get everything that you need for that 16 hours. And if you want to register, call me. I can register you because it's a lot trying to put all of those classes in and register. If you are a supervising broker, April 29th, so this is 3 weeks straight that you would attend the supervising broker, management of real estate brokerage firm. This is your 8-hour mandatory broker that you have to renew your license. The Graduate Realtor Institute is 501 through 510. This really, if you have new agents coming on board, for those of you that are brokers, if you have new agents, this is what you want to get them in. The first thing, they get all 30 hours of PLE credit. When they're finished with all 10, they will have a designation, which is the Graduate Realtor Institute, GRI. They will have military relocation professional certification, and they will have the certification of At Home with Diversity. So 2 certifications and a designation that will go with them their whole career. This is going to be the groundwork for their career. Everybody that goes through these classes rave about, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I took them. So even if you have been in the business for 5 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. This is a great designation because it just goes back and it just reminds you of some of the things that you forgot about. Also, if you're thinking about being a broker, there are 4 modules in that broker pre-licensing course. If you have your GRI, it would substitute one of those. So it's not a wasteful designation. It's not one that you have to pay for on a yearly basis. It's there to stay. And then the last one that we have is just a reminder that we have the DEI library that's in the car store. So if you want to take out a book, read it, it's there for you. And then you just return it and then the next person can use it. So does anybody have any questions about upcoming classes or any education that I can help them with? Please feel free to call me, email me, education@caar.com. I'm here for you. I can help you, guide you into the classes that you could take. We do have ABR for those of you that are interested. It's coming up again in September. That's so far away, so I didn't put it in my my PowerPoint, but it is there. It's coming up. All of our classes for the whole year are in the education calendar that you can go in, take a look at. Also, the education catalog has everything in it, all the dates, all the classes that we're having, all of the Latte and Learns in one spot, the GMMs in one spot. So everything that you need is in the education catalog. So, and it is at the bottom of my signature. I do have that link. So if you're interested, you can click on that when I send things to you. So if no one has any questions, we'll go ahead and end this. We hope to see you at the next one, which is March, reverse mortgage. And we thank you for attending.